Hello, this is the Tiffany's Fitness Podcast. My name is Tiffany, and this week's guests are Bill and Steph Sorenson. They are amazing. They swing and they make their own clubs and gadas. They juggle kettlebells, they swing kettlebells. They're just awesome and so knowledgeable. They're on Instagram at Steph Joe Sorenson, at Bill Suro Sorenson, and at Sorenson.strong. All of this is linked in the show notes, obviously. There is a good chunk of this episode that has like visuals attached to it because we're talking about the clubs and gadas that they make. So if you are generally just listening, it might be worth checking out the YouTube version so you can see what they're talking about. And with that, I will let you listen to this excellent episode, and I will see you at the end. I guess we'll just pop in with a question. How long when did you start training? Like, how did you get started with like working out in general? And
Should I
either
start?
of you.
You can start.
Okay.
And I'll
Okay. So I started kind of lifting weights when I was 14, and I've been an athlete my whole life. So I was a big softball player, so I played all the way up through college, starting from fourth grade all the way through college. Slow pitch most of those years, and then got into fast pitch in college. They didn't have fast pitch when I was younger. So with the athletics, and then my brother kind of taught me how to lift weights at 14 in the basement, curls and clean and press with the old sand-filled barbell.
Those big ones.
So I fell in love with lifting at a young age. And then in high school for track, our coach was really into lifting. So I started lifting kind of in high school and have been a lifter ever since. And then, and then did some bodybuilding along the way, did some powerlifting, and then got into kettlebells in 2008. And that's kind of where the shift happened with all these tools.
All your amazingly interesting tools that you can make. Like that's so cool. That's a long time of lifting.
So then Bill actually has a similar background. So.
Yeah, mine's very similar, kind of a high school athlete, not a college athlete though, but in my early 20s kind of fell in love with lifting heavy. And so was a bodybuilder for a number of years, did some powerlifting competitions, and then kind of was always in the gym. So spent a couple decades in the gym, end up in the early 2000s and find kettlebells and think, this is a good tool kind of for the age I was and this ability to take it anywhere you go. And I fell in with a really good group of people who did a weekend Saturday morning workout. We go work out for an hour. We do one of the graduation workouts from the original RKCs. And that kind of morphed into this group that would meet every weekend, rain, shine, or snow, for a number of years. And as part of that, then I ended up thinking that, well, I want to be a certified trainer. So I went to an RKC in St. Paul, and Steph was there as an assistant. And so met her there, and I wasn't on her team, I was on a different team, but we got a chance to kind of connect a little bit. And then, maybe it's a year and a half later, we connect again and start connecting more often.
The rest is history. Yeah, so we kind of met through the kettlebell and through the kettlebell community. So that was really fun.
It's really fun.
Yeah, you're like kettlebell OGs, just like been there. Because I found kettlebells in 2015 or 14.
Sure.
That's when I found it. It was after I graduated from college and I was back home and I was just running a bunch and I was like, I probably should do strength training. I'd been an athlete. I played soccer in college and
oh, nice.
Yeah, I played goalie up through my sophomore year of college.
Okay.
But I've had a few knocks on the head, so I didn't want to risk my life. So I stopped doing that because I didn't want to get any more any more concussions. And I stopped doing anything really after that. I was teaching swim. I was like a swim instructor and lifeguard a bunch. That's how I met my husband, actually. We're both lifeguards. And then after college, I was just like back home. There was all sorts of drama after college. Got like kicked out of my aunt's house in the middle of the night. Very dramatic. And I was just running like all the time, and my husband was well, he's my boyfriend at the time, but he was deployed, and I was like, there is going to be a choice here. Like, I am either going to like bury my feelings here, and I'm going to be stressed, and I'm just going to like curl up in myself, or I'm going to run away from my feelings. So I chose running. And I ran a bunch, and then I was like, I really liked when I was in college, when I played soccer, we did strength training a few times a week, and I really liked doing that. I should find that again. And I kind of just Googled what was the best home gym equipment, and the kettlebell came up. So that's how I got
fun.
kettlebell.
Oh, that's cool.
That's how I started. That's how I
Oh,
started kettlebell.
what
I
a
got it
great
for,
story.
yeah, I got it for Christmas. My grandma
Oh,
got it for me for Christmas, because she was like, what do you want from Christmas list? And yeah, I had that bell for a really long time, and actually I gave it to one of my clients when this
Nice.
pandemic started, because I was moving and I knew the gyms were closing down, because I moved like March, April 2020. Like for 6 years.
Sure.
So I was like, no, you can just have this, because I have a good
a few.
collection. Yeah, I had at that point our gym had already closed, so I had collected all of the bells that
Sure.
I was going to need. I didn't need like a funky shaped hard style 25-pound bell, so
Mhm.
here we are.
Yeah.
I think
Did you
okay.
start with hard style kettlebell?
I started with hard stylish kettlebell.
Okay.
Like it probably wasn't like legit hard style. I did teach myself everything up until I worked out at Core. When Instagram first started, when I first got on Instagram, I originally got it to be like accountable, so I'd like stay working out. Like that's how I started my fitness Instagram. If you scroll back 6 years, it's a lot of post-workout selfies, and and like Stairmaster workouts. And so when I first followed people on there, I'd been doing kettlebells for maybe like 6 or so months, like learning myself via YouTube. So that's basically just hard style swings at that point, and squats. And I ended up following a bunch of kettlebell sport people somehow.
Nice.
I followed Kim Fox. I followed Brittany Dan Betcher. I followed all the Core people. And I ended up just like kind of stumbling into sport. Like I was just like, this looks really cool. And then when I went to visit San Diego to find out if we were going to live there, because we were living up in the mountains and by Yosemite at the time, and we weren't going to stay there, so we were kind of like checking out different parts of the state that we were going to move to. I posted on my Instagram that I was going to go to San Diego, and this guy named Pete literally tagged every single person who trained, coached, and like was at Core, the gym, and it was like, you have to go see them. And since he tagged everyone, I was like, I feel like such an insane amount of peer pressure right now. So on my vacation to San Diego, I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning one time and drove to Core, and I met Dan, who's Muscle Hipster, who doesn't really do the Instagram anymore, but I went there and I got into this space, and I was like, this is the coolest space. Like this gym was just like, the vibe was so cool. And I told Dan, and I was like, I think we're coming back here. And I want to do kettlebell sport. And he was like, it's really hard. like it's a hard thing to do. And I was like, I know. I think I'm still gonna do it. And he was like, okay. And then 3 months later, I did move to San Diego, and I did start doing sport. And I think he was very surprised by that. And that I ended up. Brittany had some sort of like training deal going like the month before. So I was like, hey, I'm moving down there. If I buy this now, can I do this when I come down? And she was like, yeah, for sure. So I got like my first actual coaching from Brittany, who's a phenomenal kettlebell sport athlete. And Dan. So I just like, I got so exceptionally lucky that I found these, like I stumbled into the kettlebell sport vibe. And Core does a lot of hard style too, but they had a kettlebell sport team, and that's like not a
Very
thing.
Oh, wow. That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, it was really cool. There was like, like 10 or 15 of us doing kettlebell sport 3 times a week. Like,
Oh,
it
cool.
was,
What energy,
so
right?
cool.
Like
Yeah,
such an
it makes
amazing
me
energy.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and you get the team energy, you get the like community, which I hadn't really had since I played sports, and I couldn't really do soccer anymore. So it was really cool to come back into that sort of energy. And I am aggressively competitive. So it was really fun for me to have something that I can like work to, so I can like be the best at. Not that I'm anywhere near the best, but like I could be my best self, and could continue to.
Well, you are the OG of juggling.
I was looking back, and I guess like I am one of the old like first jugglers. Though I saw
you
actually at a kettlebell sport competition was where I saw juggling. I saw Oksana. She was at the Cali Open, my first like Cali Open Worlds comp, and she did like a exhibition, and she juggled.
Cool.
I look forward to the day where she can get that.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was like sitting with my friend Marion, and I was like, is that a thing we can do? Like, that's a thing we can do? I was like, oh, I'm doing that. Like, that's the coolest thing. And I saw her and Jay Moran, who doesn't really juggle anymore. And he was one of the other first jugglers that like I interacted him and his wife Jen. So when I first started juggling, I also was like kind of in like baby juggling people, like like there's like 7 of us at that point. So I was getting like a lot of really cool help from very good jugglers, because it was just like 5 of us. We were all just like cool, let's tag all our friends, and then it somewhere in there it kind of grew with, I think probably with Jared, Crazy Trainer, and Gavin, and they kind of grew it a whole lot more than anything I was doing. And I wasn't really like juggling seriously. It was more of like a thing I did like afterwards. Colin's the other one who probably really popped it off because he's amazing. But I would just like I would coach my classes on Saturday mornings at Core, and then I would take a bell from the gym, and I would go to the park, and I would go mess around for an hour, and then I'd get coffee with my friend, and I would just do that. I would just go be on the corner and at Bird Park in San Diego, and it was great. And then when the pandemic hit, and I was really people were starting to get in juggling a little bit more, and I was really attracted to like Colin's like style and his
very fun,
so good, and it was just like so like musical, and it was, so I was like, well, I can make this, I could do musical stuff, like I can't dance or sing, but like I can probably like make this happen. So that's what juggling has turned in for me. It's turned into like my version of like creativity.
Little freestyle juggling. You get to do it a lot.
A nice expression.
It is, and it's cool. It's a cool expression of all like the strength and like time I put in with all the other stuff, and it also looks cool, and it feels cool. It feels powerful when I'm doing it. How did you start? It's fun. It's so fun.
I actually, for juggling, the first people I saw juggling, the first person I saw juggling was Gus Peterson. And I don't know if you met him and his wife down at that one at the competition you went to. I think he was there with Oksana.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I only remember. I was in my own.
But Gus Peterson, Yeah, Gus Peterson juggles with the hardstyle bells, and he's been doing that for years and years. And then he has a DVD out that we got years ago.
Yeah.
We never followed through with it back then.
We tried juggling with hardstyle bells. And so we started with, a 20-pound bell. Well, the opening for your hand is about
It's
this
so
big.
small.
And so it was tough. And quite honestly, it was a little disheartening. But then, Steph saw people starting to juggle with sport bells and light sport bells. And,
Yeah,
took off from there.
Gus was the first person I saw juggle, and then I saw you juggling. And first time I saw you juggling was in the gym. So you would be working out, and then you would go into like the studio, and then you would throw the bell.
That was it was a studio called Edge, and I after my classes I opened and closed the place, and I would, after everyone left, I'd be like, we just throw the bell around a little bit.
That's fun.
Or I'd go in early because I would open, and the gym would open at 5 and the studio would open at like 6. So I'd go in right when they opened, and I would go in early to turn the heat on because it was hot classes. And I would juggle until my classes or in between my classes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then I saw you, and then I saw Colin juggling. So those are the first 3. And then, then you look at the hashtag kettlebell juggling, and then you see, and then your feed is full of jugglers. So, and then I saw Oksana, found her online as well, and then I reached out to her and got some coaching with her. So that's kind of when I leaned toward the classical style of juggling. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And then, of course, John was another first person that I saw.
Yeah.
House of Clubs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he's great, and he was a few episodes back, or at least he will be when this comes out. Like you went classical style juggling, and you went to the Arnold's. Like, what was that experience like to be like one of the first jugglers at the Arnold's?
It was a huge honor, and Bill and I had always wanted to go to the Arnold for the bodybuilding stuff because we're just meatheads. We just love to watch. And
it's a zoo. I mean, it's phenomenal. You walk in and you look around, and it's like everybody's your cousin, right? Everybody's a lifter. Everybody's involved. There was 1,000 booths of.
It looks so cool.
I love it. It was fantastic.
I want to go.
Yeah.
I want to do a sport there, or juggling, I guess. I would like. I don't know that I would. I don't know that my style lends itself to juggling in a competition setting. I don't do anything that exciting.
Well, I know Carlos in Spain, Kettlebell Malabar Carlos. They're doing the Spain competition, and they're including freestyle and different styles. So
we should see that more often.
I think that'd be fun to have here. I think that'd be really fun to have here.
Yeah, I think that would be cool because I'm just not very good at the classical style. It's very rigid, and that's everything else I do is. I mean, it's not so rigid like compared to like regular stuff, but for everything else I do, I don't want to have to like have rules. I just want to do what I want to do for this hour that I get to spend outside and sling a bell around and create divots in the ground.
We met a really good group of people, at the Arnold, both who were part of the sport competition, and then met John in person, and that was a phenomenal experience.
Yeah. Oh, in the first 5 minutes we're there, we walk into where all the booths are, the convention center, and I'm like, is that like, it's Colin.
Yeah, we see Colin about 50 feet away. There's maybe 100 people between us, and you kind of you're scanning, and then of course you see Colin.
I'm like,
we ran up. So it was really fun. He was there with his son, and
we were all like,
had a chance.
He seems really rad. So how do you like prepare for like a competition juggling?
Well,
like how does that go?
Well, this was had about 3 weeks to kind of prepare. Like, so John's like, hey, I got us in. So John initiated getting having juggling added to with to the kettlebell sport. Yeah. And so we had about a month to prepare, and then, but they weren't doing scoring. So it was more of an exhibition. And I don't have experience putting together programs or anything. So between John and I, we both put together kind of like 30 different elements into kind of a flow. And I just practiced that over and over and over and over. And that was
section by section by section by section.
Yeah.
Little bundles is, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. So each little sequence, and then I'll end in here, and then starting again there. That way I can just, so from the static, just tying everything together. So it went really well. Really fun to meet John.
What did you juggle to? What was your song that you juggled to?
Can't think of the name.
I know John did My Way with Frank Sinatra.
He did My Way, yeah. I can't think of the name of the song.
Was yours 3 minutes long? Was it like a really long sequence?
Yeah, I think
it was about 3 minutes. Yep.
Yeah,
that's so long. That's such a long time.
Yeah.
I do about 30 seconds and I'm like, all right, that was good. That was a good that was a good little combo there. All right, cool, done.
Yeah, well, John recommended doing kind of breaking it up and adding the static in. That gives you a break, so then you can kind of remember the sequence also.
It also gives kind of the audience a chance to respond, to the section before too, because they don't know.
Pause for applause. Yes, as they should, because it's really impressive.
Yeah.
I know you started doing like kettlebell sports stuff. Are you planning on competing at any point?
I probably will. It was fun to see, at the Arnold, and then we went to a local competition here in October.
Twin Cities Kettlebell.
Yeah, Twin Cities Kettlebell.
You got the Twin Cities shirt on.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, and we did a little Indian clubs demo and kind of in between workout with everybody who was there, and then had donated some clubs, and they were great. And so then when we went to the Arnold, I'm watching and I'm thinking, I love to snatch. I'm not specifically working on something. Maybe what I should do is take 6 months and learn the basics of sport and pick a competition and just go do it. So I think that's where I am. I'll do snatch, and then we'll see, maybe long cycle. We'll see how it goes, but loving the movements, always have. I've always been a really strong snatcher, and 10 minutes is a long time. 10 minutes is a long time. So I gotta get that through my mind, and so I'm doing, I'm working up to that, couple minutes on, a little bit off, couple minutes on, a little bit off, just extending that. And then now mixing in heavier sets, minute, even just, 1 minute sets with the 32s. Just
heavy sets.
Yeah, just to kind of, build that base. When we do snatching before, or hardstyle snatching, we'd swing really heavy. Steph and I would swing really heavy, and then you'd snatch a little bit lighter, and just that mental break would help a lot. So kind of that's my approach here.
Yeah, that's great.
So
snatching is my favorite for sure. I do long cycle and I do jerks because I know I'm supposed to, but it is not. I am for sure a snatcher. It's not. There's such like, once you get into a snatch set, there's like such like a beautiful like rhythm you can find, and it just feels good. Like when you snatch good, it like you know that you're snatching good. And with like long cycle, I can sometimes find that. I can sometimes find that groove. I have not really found that with a jerk set.
Yeah.
uh, there's no flow because you're just up and down. Whereas like at least
Right.
with long cycle you get the clean and you can kind of like reset, and there's just none of that. With snatch I could just go and I can like zone out or zone in, I think is my verbiage better, because you're not like totally gone, but you're in the
Yeah.
moment. I don't think about anything else when I'm in that zone.
Yeah, and
Um,
when it's heavy and you're looking at the clock, I look at a clock. And so you're heavy and looking at the clock, you don't have much else to think about, right? You just
yeah.
holding on, doing the next one.
I'll be right back.
Yep. Yeah, you just do one rep at a time and you just
That's right.
breathe. And
That's right.
yeah, I do like a lot of like when I did my 20K to get CMS, I had like a million mantras. I basically had a whiteboard in front of me that had like minute by minute the things
Sure.
to tell myself.
Yeah.
So like I could look up and it was like right in front of me that I could see what I was doing. So even if my brain started to try to talk me out of doing the set because it's hard, it's objectively a hard thing, I could look ahead and I could see you're doing great.
Yeah, here's where you are.
For this. You
Yeah.
can do this thing. And it actually ended up when I did that set, my husband was my husband actually ended up being able to be home for it, so he could sit there and tell me
Nice.
and like my little support. He's good at that. He's suffered through a lot of very long competitions.
No doubt. We made some friends who are doing half marathon and marathons, and
Yeah.
we saw, they ran a half marathon, a couple half marathons at the Arnold. So met those people and watched, and that's incredibly amazing amount of work.
My friend Marion did a marathon set, and you gotta there's got to be some sort of she did it was a 1 arm long cycle, and I was like, good for you, man. That looks terrible. I was like, you do that, I will do a snatch set. Yeah, I've done a couple 1 arm long cycles for an hour. There's a like foundation charity called Walk with Sally, and they do a 1 hour long cycle thing in October. So when I was at core, we would like be like a hub for that.
Sure.
And so we would all do the 1 hour long cycle, but it's not, at least I'm sure it is other places, but for us it wasn't like a hardcore 1 hour long cycle. It was like a mess around, we're chit-chatting, walking around with a bell overhead, grabbing water, like that sort of a thing, versus like a very competitive set. And then the last like 10 minutes we would kind of go for it a little bit more. But it was that the idea of doing like an actual like hard set, and also the amount of time it would take to train that, just like I don't, because when I train like a half marathon like run, because I've done a half marathon.
Sure.
It took so long. It took so long to train for. It took like it's taken me hours to get through like a drive to a trail, like go do my run for a million years, and
for sure.
And then you're like the fatigue and the running and like from that was daunting.
Yeah. I've never done a marathon or anything close to it.
I crossed the finish line and I was like, that's as far as I'll ever run, and I won't ever do that again. Like,
well, congratulations. That's good.
And I have kept my word on that. I like got there and I found my husband, and I was like, that's it. Like, I'm not doing that one again. That's good for me. I got what I wanted. That was terrible. My legs hurt. My body hurts. And then I was stupid. And I had signed up for the Cali Open, where I saw the juggling was the week later. It was terrible. I was in my overtraining phase. So
there you go.
we all have to do that at some point. Get through it.
So can we talk about how we got into the clubs.
Yes, that was my next question. I have mine.
So we actually got into the mace first. And that same year, we were introduced to Indian clubs. And Phil Scarito was having a workshop. So we went to his workshop, and he kind of teaches that under the Ed Thomas style. So we learned, the heart shape and the basics there. And then do you want to share about your experience?
Sure.
Yeah.
So then, and Phil's approach is perfect form and the fundamental swing and making sure, you're hitting each position. And so, that got pretty well ingrained in us. And so we started swinging a little bit. During that time or shortly thereafter, we moved to Minnesota from Philly. So we moved to Minneapolis area. During that move, I end up having a stroke, which is just bizarre. Always been healthy, always, worked out, always had all these things.
It was literally on our
drive.
Yeah, so on our drive, we pull into the driveway.
Pull into the driveway.
It just wasn't right.
Yeah. And so
He was walking around fine, but not fine, like subtle things.
Yeah, so Steph calls 911 and I'm like, oh, great. We're moving into the neighborhood. I'm the guy with the ambulance. I'm going to always be the guy they remember. But
because I don't want to be ambulance Bill.
That's right. So anyway.
Ambulance Bill is better than the dead Bill because you didn't call the ambulance. So
that's right. So I end up in the hospital for a short amount of time. It was a medium-sized stroke, but I recovered really, really quickly. I had some left side of my body that was slow. And so shortly after, Ed Thomas was running a one-day kind of kettlebell workshop in Iowa, where he's from, Davenport. And so I signed up for that, Indian clubs, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Drove down, and it was about 3 weeks after the stroke. And so spent a day with him and a bunch of people, and kind of realized that I needed something kind of help recovery from, a little bit of limitation that I was having. And I kind of committed to myself that, I'm really going to learn this. I'm really going to get good at this. And so almost from that day on, I've swung clubs almost every day. And so we've really learned a lot. We've really, kind of developed our program. We've got a few things out on YouTube. We've got a book that'll probably come out this summer on Indian clubs. And then we, during that process, we bought everybody's clubs, right? It's kind of what you do. Part of it is to support them, but the other part is to kind of understand what fits. And so, we probably have 60 pairs of different clubs here. And then as part of that, I kind of came up with what I thought was the perfect club. And so we spent some time, had a few different really master wood turners produce those clubs. We ended up with a US-based company and then a group in India that produce our clubs for us. So we sell these, they're 18.5 inches, so 2.5 inches longer than a typical 1 pound club.
And you've had this one in your hand.
Yes, you have.
I do have this one. It's stunning. I actually had to bring it up because I went outside today and I was playing with them a little bit. That's what I do. These are my downstairs ones. I have my ones up here too, but I'm so tired this week because of dog shenanigans from my neighbors, like I told you all. But so this was how I get myself moving.
Nice.
So I can do a thing, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go be in the sun and I'm going to move, and then I just feel better. This was also when we got COVID last summer, and I couldn't do anything, and you're just stiff, and I felt terrible. And this, I was like, you know what I can do? I can go swing my clubs, and
That's right.
it won't like exhaust me, and it won't make me feel bad, but I can do it. That's why I love them so much, is because I do a lot of work that I have to recover from, and
For sure.
I want to move. I want to do things all of the time, and clubs are my way of like, it's a way of being like, okay, I can't swing, I can't snatch today, I need to rest, I can't bed press today or whatever,
Right.
but I can go spend 30 minutes outside and practice my clubs, which is exhausting in a whole different way because my brain has to remember all of the patterns because I'm not very good.
Yeah, that was one thing that really helped me. I was fell in love with snakes, right? I mean, get the basic pattern down, and then it's all these different changes and transitions with that. So that's one thing. And then one of my good friends, probably my first kettlebell experience was with James Needlinger. I don't know if you know James, but so he ran kettlebell stuff and Muay Thai stuff here in Minneapolis for a long, long time. And he's really been, I think, one of the best snakes instructors as well as practitioners maybe in the world now.
And we went with our daughter, we went and we did the flexible steel certification with James.
Yeah, his Indian club
certification. That was probably.
Yeah, so that was really good.
Yep.
And so as we
this is why I decided to get like a course too. That's why, because I was trying to do them and I was coming around and just banging the hell out of my elbow. And I had like a bruise, and I was like, all right, I gotta get help. So I ended up getting Zach Frankenlegs is like 1.5 course.
Oh yeah,
that's a great.
And that's how I figured it out. And also he was just super nice because I was like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And he was like, let me just send
Zach
you.
Is incredible.
He's stunning. I think it's him and y'all are the people that I first saw doing clubs.
Sure.
Like, that's cool. I could maybe learn that. And they had them at Core. That's how I got my other ones. When I found some of my old videos because I'm just like pulling them out. I don't know what. There's nothing happening there. Yeah, I saw y'all doing that. And I was like, I want to look. My stuff doesn't look like that. Like I want to look like that. That looks way better.
There you
I
go.
don't know what I'm doing, but
one nice thing is that separating left from right. So once you can do that in a certain pattern, and it becomes naturally, it's just like your brain is all these neural pathways are forming, and it was very restorative and healing for Bill as well. So that left side now has zero to none.
That's
really all recovery. And it took gonna do a little bit of a course on how do you try and get that left separation from your right quicker. It took me a long time. I think about it like piano. People who learn piano, pretty soon the left side's just doing its own thing and the right side's doing its own thing. Takes a while to get there. And it's kind of the same with clubs. And I even remember the day that it happened, coming down from upstairs. I was in the office just working, and I would always swing 5-10 minutes a day. That would just always be it, a little bit of a break. And the first day that, I could do a snake on one side, heart shape and transitions on the other at the same time, I just remember that time, and it was like, oh, this just happened. And literally from that moment on, my left side could do whatever it wanted. And so it was really kind of a cool, besides kind of recovering this left side, that ability to now have the left side do whatever it needs to do while your right side's doing something else. That was really, really cool. So kind of want to share that, and how do you get there faster? And so we've got something probably coming out in the next month or so that'll be.
That's really cool. I'll check that out for sure. It might be out when this comes out, and we'll have it all linked up for y'all too. Because that's so cool.
Did you want to talk about the Gada Making at all? I just want to tell you, I grabbed these. So We have a YouTube video out there as well. The links are in our bios, but on how to make the Gada. But this is an example of the solid bamboo, and then just a fishbowl. So this is one of my favorite models. Is a 13-pounder. So then you fill it with concrete, and then you prep the pole with screws, and then you set it in, and then it's a whole process you can find on YouTube. But then once it hardens, you crack the glass off, and then you can paint it. So we spent some time making and selling these as well. That's been a really fun process. Have you ever swung a Gada?
I've never swung a Gada, and
I
know, and I need to make one. But every time I'm like, I was like gonna make one, and then it rains here every afternoon, and I was like, there's nowhere for me to put this without.
Here's one of the shapes we've done.
Are stunning. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
If you're just listening to the audio, it's like this beautiful, like, I don't know, hexagonal shape.
Icosahedron. It's that 20-sided, like a 20-sided dice.
It's like a die. It's like a 20. It's a natural. It's beautiful, and I'd like see y'all with your beautiful Gadas and clubs. Yeah, they're so pretty.
Yeah,
we think we made just over 300 of them.
Yeah.
So it's been a few.
So we are inspired by Paul Volkovinsky to make a Gada. We learned by watching his stuff, and with the clubs and everything, he's been a huge mentor to us. And
his videos are so nice too.
Yeah. So and then Tom, War Yoga on Instagram, he was a huge inspiration for the shape. So we started with the horse feeder ball. It's a 30-pounder. It's pinky that I used to swing. I don't swing that one anymore, but I'm looking for someone who might want to swing pinky. So
it's 30 pounds.
It's 30 pounds.
Yeah, it's 30 pounds.
Yeah.
Steph did.
I need to pass the torch to someone, so we're trying to figure out who.
And we did, along the path, fall in love with the mace, and did get a chance to meet Rick Brown. And
he's come and done. I've seen him at competitions. He's done like mace, like sport type comps. When we did them at the Corps. We'd have a mace one. I guess they have like a Gada-ish shape one. It was just like a really long one. I don't know.
The addicts?
I guess.
Yeah.
It wasn't addicts. It was like metal, and it had like, I think there was like, you could like fill at the end up. I don't know. Sure. I didn't get that one. Somebody else got it when Corps closed. I did try for it. I got the clubs though. So.
Yeah, we do love the Addicts Mace by Donnie. It's wonderful. It's a great one because you can expand it like from 7 pounds to 30, and then with the Rhino add-on, you can get
with the Rhino add-on kit, you can get it up to
you can get it heavier. Yeah,
50 and 60. So
that's a wonderful investment.
On that.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to get a Gada into your hands somehow.
I know. I need to do it. So it's one of those ones I'm like, I'm gonna do it, and then it's just like I don't do it.
If we drive out, we'll load the car with some things to bring.
I wonder how they would move if I'm moving across the country. That would be my fear, because I don't know how careful the military would be with my toys. But I have that one, my heavy mace, and I have my like regular.
Is that one. You have a big? Is that become stronger? Yeah. We have one.
My friend Marion, she's come up a few times, but she is lovely, and that was my 30th birthday present. I was like, I was gonna get one. So I was like, I think there's something happened. Oh, I was gonna get myself a mace, and then my contacts cost me $1 million. And I was like, I'm not getting a mace anymore. That's a bummer. And she was like, well, your birthday's coming up. I'll just get you a mace for your birthday. And I was like,
Hey, that's perfect.
Love
and I
it.
was like, okay, I guess that's acceptable.
That's what our birthday presents and, all of our gifts have been like something you
most
swank.
of something. Yeah, I got the little Titan Bulgarian bag for my birthday.
Nice.
My little sign with my Tiffany's Fitness was for my birthday.
Yeah,
My brother does like laser cutting stuff.
So
cool.
He made that. Yes. Actually, when I got this, he was like, well, how do they do the engraving on their stuff? Because that's really nice. It looks really smooth. And I was like, I don't know, Danny. Like, he was
laser engraver. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I was like,
He's send you that info.
He's like, they have to be doing laser engraving because that looks like the sort of thing that I do. And I was like, I'm sure it is, man. Like, I was just sending you a picture of how stunning the actual club was. Yeah, I was so surprised because usually when people say like, oh, can I have yours? Just they want to send something. It's like a T-shirt. And so I was like, oh, because some like my friends send me shirts, and then like I wear their shirts and like I get to promote them, and that's really cool. And so I went to the mailbox and I got the mail, and I saw that it was the shape that it was, and I was like, did they send me like full clubs? Like, did I get actual clubs? And then I cried so much. I was like, this is the nicest thing anyone sent me. They're so beautiful, and they, you have like your nice logo and put mine on there, which is so cool. And I do use them like all the time. Anytime I can be like, check these people out. I love to, because I think the stuff you guys do is awesome. I think I've sent my clients a bunch of your videos, Bill, of like the beginner videos that you have.
Sure.
I have them saved. I have folders with everyone. So I think the stuff you guys do is so cool. And
probably one of the other things we've added the last couple of years, a little less committed, I think, is rope as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing a lot more rope flow, and we met we met Bea early in her kind of process and connected with her really closely, and so that's been a phenomenal relationship for us. She's done so much.
Slush rope.
Yeah, slush rope.
Yes, I have the slush ropes here. Wait.
Yeah, see, that's perfect. Everybody's got to at least get 2.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, there you go.
And then also they got tie-dyed a little bit, so it's the electric run. Yeah, she said sent this to me. She's so fab. I was doing it more, but this room does not really allow for rope flow. I have hit everything. It's very small. When I do clubs, I have to do like a very specific angle, so I don't knock it out over everything.
Yeah.
This is why these are downstairs, so I can go outside and like not have to think about it. I started doing rope flow though, like Chris Chamberlain. He works with David Weck. I think he worked at Core. So I worked with him when they started doing ropes. So he brought ropes to Core, and I have like the little original ropes that
that's fun.
The Weck.
So that's how I started doing them, because it was a really nice way for me to warm up before training. Same thing with clubs, before doing like sport sets, is like, it's just kind of get myself in my flow.
Do you use your clubs do you use the clubs for prepping for sport? For warm up? Yeah. I use my clubs all the time for warming up. Like they're phenomenal.
Yeah, they're one of my usually my warm up is like 5-10 minutes of, I mean, sometimes more. I usually have to set a timer because I'll just do clubs for a long time, and then I'm behind for the rest of my day. But I do like 5-10 minutes of that, 5-10 minutes mobility, warm up, whatever, and then into it. I did have to start setting timers, because I will, if the sets are hard, if I can distract myself.
That's right. If you can distract yourself up until, I can just squeeze it in.
Yes.
Yeah, I love them a lot. I also use them a lot for like decompressing, like the mule nets, wrist circles, for
Mhm.
wrists, because your forearms get so tight when you do long snatching.
Yeah.
Um, and when I was doing biathlon, my forearms were fried like all of the time because you're doing it in the rack position and then you're
Right.
snatching. And so I did a lot of, you do regular wrist stretching, but I did a lot of club. I would just do this. I just do my little wrist circles for a
Yeah.
while, or in between
Yeah.
sets. And sometimes when I do like heavy, like kettlebell bent presses as well,
Yeah.
I'll do wrist circles because there's a lot of pressure on the forearm, so it just kind of like helps release it a little bit. I think also it helps with like opening up for my mobility. I'm not like, mobility is like a little bit different, but this is like a good way to like extend that mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like for rack position, for jerks, which is like a hard position to get into, and then for bent press where you have to like really get your elbow back
Yes.
there. I mean, it's just the, it's a heart shape
Mhm.
over, like it's so I think it's helped in that regard as well. But also they feel nice. That's that's like, even if it didn't, have actual benefits, I like the way that I feel like when I'm doing them, and I can
Mhm.
listen to like some good vibey music and
Yeah.
do my three movements that I know how to do.
There's such a, like, for me, I find that there's such a soothing mental aspect to these circular patterns. Like you can, for me, it's just picking one or two patterns and repeating. I do a lot of patterns on repeat, not real exciting, but for me, it's very meditative and just decompressive, as you say. Yeah. And just calms the mind and helps you just relax and refocus.
It's a movement meditation, like, for sure.
It is.
It really is.
And yeah, you could, like, some days I'm going out there and I'm like trying to learn a new thing. But most of the time, clubs for me is just that. It's just a meditation. It's me spending a few minutes today in the sunshine so I could get my day started and like on a nicer note than me wanting to throw rocks at my neighbors. And so this puts me in a better headspace, and it's a better environment for everyone. Mostly me in my head, which is really, really important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like, when you do your sequences or your patterns, are you doing it to like music or to just like in your head?
I use music once in a while, but I mostly, like, if I'm outside, is just listening to what's around. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So it kind of depends where I am. In the basement here, I often don't have music on either until I go post it. I'll just pick, try to match the song. But yeah, but I don't always play music when I work out. Yeah, I used to when I was younger, but now I find a lot of peace in just the breath, like breathing and.
And for me, I've been, when I work on something complicated, right? Either a complicated pattern, something that the right and left are doing different. If music's on, I'm lost.
Yeah.
I'm listening to something but then once you have it, then it's actually really nice. I think I've got one pattern out there that's a snake in a wrist circle on one side, and then the left side's doing something different. And it's almost, I found a song that it was like almost perfect.
Yeah.
So you play the song and you do it and you go, this is just perfect.
It's just perfect. Vibes. Yeah,
exactly.
Every now and then you find the song and you're like, well, now I have to. Like, that's what is the best when you find.
Well, one thing I did a whole series of swing-alongs. So with those, I actually did it to the real music. So that was, I really enjoy that. So I guess I do both. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like with the Gada, it's really fun too. If you find a perfect beat with the Gada, you just really get it. That feels so.
That's how I learned to do the patterns like on the right pace, because when I first started doing clubs, and I think I talked about this with Monica too, but I was going really fast and I was swinging around. It was really fast. And my friend Marion, she was like, you should try listening to like hang drums, because there's like a really consistent beat, and then you can know. She's like, when the drum hits, you should be here, and that's where you, and then you should be here. Like, and that was really, really helpful for me to be able to like figure out the pacing of it, because a lot of the things I do, I'm trying to go fast. Like that is what I like. Like when I first started picking up clubs, I was trying to snatch really fast. So I was like, well, I'm gonna do this really fast. Like, let me just do it all really fast. And that's not really the point of clubs. So she's like, just try this little fun little rhythmic beat, and see how that feels. And then I was like, oh, and then that's when it started like actually clicking for the patterns and the pacing, and I wasn't, hitting my knee as I came around to the front. That was rushing.
Paul Volkovinsky has a series of, what do you call it now? It's not an album.
Not a CD.
It's not a CD.
he's got an album.
Yeah, so he has a full series of, it's called Drum Beats for Mace, Gada, Indian clubs, and Neo. And then they each have different timing for the beats. It's a really cool series. So he's got that over on Spotify and Apple. That's a great one.
I'll have to track those down.
He does his Gada swinging and club swinging a lot to beats.
Yeah, and he always has his stuff is really cool. Also one of the early people I found doing clubs up because he's one of the people who does that work. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, I don't want to take up the rest of your evening.
Thank you for having
dinner
us.
And stuff. I'm so happy I could talk to you. It's really nice to like get to see your faces and chat.
Yeah, you too.
Where can people find your clubs? Where can people find you on the internet so we can, support you and follow you, because you're super rad.
Probably the easiest way is Instagram. Go take a look at Instagram. We're Sorenson.strong on Instagram. And my account is Steph Joe Sorenson. And then Bill is Bill Sorenson.
And then just links in our bio. We've got link trees, and you can buy the clubs there, or links to our YouTube channels, which is all just kind of free content. And we show you how to make a Gada, how to tie a RMP rope. So there's a few things.
I got to show Bill. I probably did a post.
And I'll make sure I have all of these things linked up so people can.
So this is kind of fun. This is a push-up board that Bill created.
Steph's been using Sheena's, a flat.
Sheena board.
Flat Sheena board. Here's an example of Hammurabi's.
Primal 6 created this one. Yep.
And when I use it, I got this big hand and I'm a heavy guy. And so I end up thinking more about the pressure on my hand than the movement. And so I was looking around, and so we made a 2-inch wide dowel push-up board. And so so this was a gift for Steph when she got home from a trip. And then
that's so fun that you can just like make these things.
It's fun.
It's such a cool skill. That's so impressive.
And then we made a set of parallettes as well. So one of my things is to work on handstands. And so one of the goals is to be able to get a handstand. And on a 2-inch parallette, I can hold on to that for a long time. So, we'll see. Stuff to do.
It's always fun to have something to work towards.
It is.
Well, if you ever want to fly out to Minnesota, you're more than welcome. You can come and play with.
You have so many cool toys. I know. I'm always like admiring your room full of like excellent tools.
Every room has something in it.
That's so cool. I just have my little weird, closet of flags and call it a day.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, that's
it's,
fun.
it's a mess in here.
You're off to a great start. We really enjoy.
Yeah, I
stuff.
really enjoy watching your stuff, and bent presses are phenomenal.
Oh my gosh.
We haven't picked up that as a goal yet, but that's probably out there at some point. It's so fun to see.
You might as well. You've done all the other things. You might as well start bent pressing. It's it's a weird old timey strongman thing. It's
I know.
Yeah.
It's
right.
kind
It's
of
in
fun.
the cards for you.
It is.
Yeah. That's all I'm doing. That's like all I'm doing right now is bent pressing. So it's been a lot of fun for me. Cool. Well, I will let you all go on with your night, and I will make sure I have all of your things linked in our show notes so everyone can follow
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for coming on. I just had such a good time chatting with you, and we will chat, see ya, hear ya, talk to you later. That was my episode with Bill and Steph Sorenson. They are just lovely. We have a lot of links in the notes this week. I have a link to their shop so you can get your hands on a pair of their beautiful clubs, their Instagrams, their YouTube Indian Club playlist, like beginning Indian Club, if that's something you're getting into. I also have a Gada Making YouTube video linked from them. So definitely check all these out. Definitely follow them if you're not already following them. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you soon.